call to order the February 25th, 2021 Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting. We are meeting electronically pursuant to Execute Order 71 issued by Governor, I should have put glasses on, Bill Lee. This board meeting is not meeting in a physical location in order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. This meeting is being recorded and will be available to the public via city YouTube page accessible at johnsoncitytn.org/meetings, no later than 2 business days from the date of today's meeting. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So we're calling to order and we need to approve the minutes from last time.
Motion to approve.
Anybody?
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes.
Yeah, I second it.
All right. Do we have public input?
Wait a minute, you have to approve the minutes. You can either do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It keeps going in and out.
That's okay.
I thought we were pressing.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah,
Any
just ask if
discussion?
all are in favor.
Okay, Missy, you want to do a roll call or all together?
All in favor.
Okay, all those in favor?
Oh, everybody's frozen.
Aye.
Yep.
I know.
Those
Aye.
opposed? I'm sorry, apparently we have a disconnect and I'm not hearing some of you. Okay, sorry about that, Madam Chairman.
It keeps freezing. That's why I thought we were moving on to the next point. Sorry. So
Okay,
are we good, Missy?
Yes.
Okay. So now are we ready to move on?
yes.
Yes. Okay. So public input, are we have any?
No.
Okay. Old business. Here we go. Anybody? All right. We're going on to new business, which is the reopening plan.
Okay. We are very excited to announce, as most of you I'm sure have seen through the media releases that have gone out through radio, television, newspaper, social media, that the city has given us the green light to consider reopening some of our facilities and programming. And what I would like to do at this time is to give you a summary of our reopening plan phase 1. As you're probably aware, we initiated a weekly conference call with our neighbors starting back last April. A total of 7 recreation departments participated on weekly conference calls, and we continue to do so now. Our reopening plans are consistent with what other cities are either doing or plan to do in the coming months, and we feel that we will have more than ample safety precautions in place. The programming and facilities that this applies to are high school sports, officially began February 15th. Our weekend athletic events will begin March 1st. Our youth soccer, youth t-ball, and youth softball will begin registration March 1st. Practices will begin April 1st. Games will begin April 15th. The adult softball program, registration March 1st. Practice March 15, games April 15. Our pavilion rentals, we will begin accepting pavilion rentals beginning March 1st, with those rentals to occur on or after April 1st. Memorial Park Community Center, the Langston Center, and the Carver Center, patrons can begin scheduling their activities in the centers starting April 5th by calling the center and reserving their activity time. Centers will open on a reduced schedule starting April 12. Safety precautions will be in place at all facilities. And we are also developing plans for the outdoor pool, splash pads, summer tennis program, the summer camp program, and the outdoor concert series. Any third-party groups such as Little League Baseball, Babe Ruth Baseball, weekend tournament rentals, folks of that nature, we are requiring them to provide us with a copy of their governing body or association's return to play guidelines. And we will hold those folks responsible to ensure that those measures are in place. As I said, our centers will be open. We'll be closing daily at 6 p.m. They will not be open on Saturdays and Sundays. And there will be a limited number of participants in the building during the hours we are open. All of this is what we're calling phase one. And depending on the numbers and the current status and situation moving forward, we're optimistic that if the numbers do not spike or increase dramatically, that at some point in the future, we will be able to move to phase two, which naturally would be expanding the hours of operation, expanding the number of folks allowed to participate, and that type of thing. As you've probably heard, the mask mandate for our county has been lifted. However, the city does have a mask mandate for our indoor city facilities. Everyone is still required to wear a mask. Our challenge now with the reopening, and just as much we suspected, is trying to hire enough temporary staff and get our workforce back up so that we can offer the programming and activities that we offer. A good example, we're hiring umpires, scorekeepers, referees. We're hiring lifeguards for our pools. We're hiring program staff. We're hiring upwards of 39 maintenance and turf employees. So, we're optimistic that the programs and activities will begin as scheduled. It's just been a bit of a challenge for us to be able so far to secure enough staff to meet the demand, but we're working diligently on that currently. I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Okay, one question.
Yes.
For the softball, the soccer, all the stuff outside, I know that they're limiting capacity indoors. The outside, we're not limiting the amount of spectators for the sports, correct?
We are not limiting, however, we are encouraging strongly social distancing. We are, and I should have added, we are in all of the parks or all of the fields, playing fields, we're marking the bleachers 6 foot sections. We're also down the first and third baseline, as well as on our outdoor rectangular fields. There will be marks that signify 6 feet apart to help encourage that. So we're doing our very best to keep folks socially distanced. We will have masks, even though we're not requiring those outdoors. We will have those at as many of our outdoor facilities as we possibly can. Mr. Welch, I notice you have your hand raised.
Yeah, question. You mentioned that people who are renting the facilities will need to provide a safe operating plan. Is that reviewed by park staff, or are there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And for an example, we have already met with the Little League Baseball presidents for the coming year, and they will provide us a copy of the return to play according to Little League guidelines, as well as if the local leagues have any of their own guidelines that they have implemented. We review that. If we have any questions or uncertainties, then we will forward that on to our risk management department for their review and input as well. I hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Hey, James.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is Joe. Hey, will the splash pads be opening as normal?
Yes. Right now, our plan, and please understand, I always have to say right now, because just like you, I can't predict the future on this. We do have plans to open the outdoor pool and both splash pads on or about Memorial Weekend.
Now, will Carver's be ready by then?
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. We're very close, just to tell you, Joe, and to the board. I think the water meter has either been set or it's going to be set first of the week. From that point, the vendor will run the system. Then we're required, according to our grant, to have TDEC. The state will come in and provide the final inspection. From that point, there will be a training period where our staff's trained on the chemicals, et cetera, because that is a recirculating system. So yeah, the answer to the question, by all means, barring a disaster, we should be ready to open by Memorial Weekend.
Good deal.
In addition, I will say that it hasn't began yet, but we have marked the area for the outdoor restroom building that will be constructed at Carver. And we're optimistic that there's a good chance we'll have that built by the opening. If not, we do have those very nice portable trailer units now, and we'll be happy to put one of those there until such time as it is completed.
Question on the phases. Do we know long range? I mean, if there's 6 or 8 or 10 phases, or after 2 or 3, it goes to normal? Do we have?
Nothing has been, we have not received any direct information on the number, Jonathan. However, I quite honestly don't suspect, and this is just in conversation with management and other folks, I don't suspect there will be more than 3. But again, I think a lot of it just depends if we see spikes and at what time and that sort of thing, and the ability of our staff to be able to control what's going on, both indoors and outdoors. And I can tell you that staff has spent countless hours putting together very detailed plans, a lot of safety measures, and we have met all week with all the various staff just to ensure that we're ready to go, for those programs and activities. So we're optimistic. As I told someone in the media the other day, I cannot promise you that every individual will be 100% safe, but I can promise you we've made efforts to make that a possibility. A lot of it depends on the folks who are visiting our facilities, quite honestly. Any other questions on our reopening plan?
The mask mandate, it doesn't matter where it is, anything under Parks and Rec, we're still going to have a mask mandate for the foreseeable future, correct?
Inside, yes, sir.
Yeah, inside, right.
Yes, sir. And we are, we've purchased all the guns, the backpack sprayers, the machines. So we're disinfecting the majority of our rooms, our facilities, our outdoor restrooms, and the responsibility is on the user groups to ensure that they're disinfecting their dugout areas where the children are. We're also reserving the front row of each set of bleachers for the players. If you've got a smaller dugout and a large number of players or team personnel, we're going to say the front row of each set of the bleachers will be reserved for players only. Because I think most of you that's been around the ball field, there's not a lot of fans or spectators even sitting in the bleachers anymore. Everyone brings their chair. And, but yeah, that's sort of where we are. We've got a lot of sanitizer, masks, we're doing some temperature checks inside the building before you can come in, things of that nature. So we feel really good about it, quite honestly. Any other questions on the reopening? Okay, thank you.
All right, so we're moving on to action item. Buffalo Mountain hours and Tannery Knob hours.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I would like to consider both of these as one, unless anyone on the boards would prefer we keep those separate. At last month's meeting, we discussed a proposal from our staff to consider the following hours, 7 to 7 during the winter months, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and 7 to 9 p.m. During the summer months. We have gone back and we've done some research with our manager on duty. Right now, at the times they have been going to lock the parks, there has been minimal, if any, vehicles in the park. And his time obviously has varied, as we talked about at great length last meeting. But anywhere between hours of, it appears 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., there are minimal cars there, and rightfully so, I think, considering the weather. We've had some really cold and snowy weather recently. We have gone to a report from date and time specifically for Buffalo Mountain Park. The sun sets during the month, or sat during the month of June 2020, no later than 8:50 p.m. To start the month, it began setting at 8:41. During the month of December 2020, it began setting at 5:14 p.m. And the latest time was the last day of December, and the sunset occurred at 5:24. And I know there was great discussion on, okay, what time does the sun rise? What time does the sun set? So if the sunset, I think in the dead of the summertime, June and early July is 8:50, we really feel 9 p.m. is ample time because, number one, our manager on duty is not going to be there straight up and down 9 p.m. in the summertime. That's his busiest time. That's when he's locking upwards of all 24 parks. So what we would like to say is 7 to 9 p.m. or upon arrival of the manager on duty. I will tell you there was one evening or maybe two during this review period over the last month that 1 or 2 vehicles were left in the park. He was there at one point as long as 46 minutes and no one came back to their vehicle. So he just locked the gate. As I said last month, we are looking at moving the gate back down underneath the original sign at that entrance. And we're going to depend on Public Works or street or traffic or someone to come in and help us cut a turnaround in the bank so that folks won't have to go all the way up there and then try to get bottlenecked, because I've heard a lot of that from folks. So that's our proposal. We serve at your pleasure on this policy. So Madam Chairman, it's up to the board.
Say the times one more time, please, James.
The times would be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. during the winter months, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. during the summer months.
And will that switch when we switch from daylight savings time to standard back and forth?
And again, that's at your discretion. I know the board discussed that at the end of last month's meeting.
My motion would be to approve the hours you have with them switching when we switch on and off of daylight savings time.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand what you're saying. So when we, in the fall is when it switches, when we fall back, and in the spring, it will change when we spring forward those times to 7 to 9, correct?
Yes.
So spring goes to 7 to 9, and then in the fall, it goes to the shorter time period, correct?
Yeah. Second
Okay.
Sunday in March is when it switches in the spring. First Sunday in November is when it switches in the fall. And that's when we'd go from 7 to 7 in the summer, daylight savings time, 9 in other way around, 7 to 9 in the summer, and then 7 to 7 in the winter.
Gotcha. All right, do I have a second?
I second that.
All right, Missy, how do you want to do it?
Okay, Mr. Bradley,
May I interrupt? Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, I did have one question. I didn't know if I should wait till later.
And I think, Mr. Kenneth, you made the motion and you're sort of our sergeant of arms, so isn't that normal procedure?
Yes, you need to offer discussion after the second.
All
Yes.
right, sounds good. Larry?
Yes, yes. Even when we vote on this, if you, James, or someone under you, whoever, brings it back to your attention or our attention that we might need to give it another look, we could still come back to this and tweak the hours as need be, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Just keep in mind, please, you're costing me signage when you change that.
Yes. Oh, yes. I got you.
We just
Amen.
put a sticker over it.
There you go.
I'm just kidding.
Or an interchangeable.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, you
All right.
could answer your question.
Okay.
If anybody currently has any reservations or questions, now's the time, so we don't have to keep changing signs.
Yes.
Anybody?
I think they sound good. I say let's go for it.
All right, we're moving on unless somebody interrupts me. Missy, let's go.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Dearstone,
Yes.
Mr. Glassby,
Yes.
Ms. Hubbs,
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth,
Yes.
Mr. Welch,
Yes.
Vice Chair Flamer.
Yes. All right, now we're moving on to staff report informational item, James.
I think basically with the reopening, we have definitely made a lot of our patrons and citizens very, very happy. We have also made a lot of our staff, full-time, part-time, extremely happy because some of our center staff, as well as administrative, they're really ready to get those paint rollers and paint brushes out of their hand and go back to doing what they were hired to do. But I can say I'm very, very proud of our staff. We've got, so many hidden talents amongst the staff across the board that it's really amazing. I mean, from the administrative building all the way down to the Keystone building and throughout the entire parks. This has been, if there's a positive to the pandemic, it's allowed the city to allow us to make, a lot of improvements throughout the park system and to put a new facelift on a lot of our facilities. So, we're very thankful that that has occurred. And we're also thankful that our employees have been given the opportunity to continue working during the pandemic. And we appreciate the support of the board as well. That's basically the only report I have. Again, I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
James, do you anticipate being able to hire the seasonal staff that you need?
I'm not really sure, Adam. We, quite honestly, we pay $9 an hour for the majority of our park services, which is our maintenance and turf staff. We have 31 total positions that we're looking to fill for the summer months, not counting the 8 as far as what we call the weekend field crew. So there's roughly 40 employees there. We've interviewed and handed out paperwork to those who have given us blood samples saying that they will return it and come to work for us to about 8. So we're really under the gun to try to get enough staff brought on. Can we cover it? Yes, it's just going to eat into some overtime compensation possibly, as well as some comp time for our full-time and part-time employees. But yes, if you know of anyone, they must be a minimum 16. We've got a wide variety of positions available, anywhere from $9 an hour to upwards of $26 per game, depending on the activity. But yeah, we're working diligently. We've advertised through social media, through Indeed, the city's website, word of mouth, and we're optimistic we'll be able to bring enough staff on to handle everything.
I had one other question when you were talking about, your manager that spent 46 minutes waiting for a car that no one ever came to get at closing time. And, you know, I'm thinking overtime, that's not convenient. Certainly it's a nice courtesy to whoever may have left their car and is running late, but you know, is there signage up there to direct people who got locked in to call someone somewhere?
We have placed new signage up there. From what I've learned as recent as this morning, the text size on the signage may not be large enough for some folks to actually read. So we're even considering larger signage and maybe even a sign with some sort of light on it for, you know, if it's after dark. And keep in mind, normally during the good weather months, we try to staff that park to some degree. So we're also looking at that to maybe assist us. The last thing we want to do is to lock a vehicle up in the park, because it does make it a challenge for folks to get off the mountain in the dark, especially when the gate's locked. And it's very dangerous. But, you know, there is a point in time when we just have to say, okay, we can't continue sitting here waiting. And I will say, it's not just Buffalo Mountain Park, folks. All of our parks, you know, you'll have folks that will park in one of the parks to go to the movies or shopping or dining together. And for whatever reason, they get delayed and they don't make it back in time. It's just getting off of Tannery and Buffalo is more of a challenge than jumping the curb at Metro Kiwanis Park, or even here at Wing Deer. You know, there's an exit here that is not gated. So, but yeah, and the cool part about that, or I guess if there is a silver lining, that employee is what we call a temporary. So it's a $9 an hour employee with no benefits. So, you know, that really doesn't hit our budget very heavy if they work late. But again, we just don't want them for safety purposes or to have to sit around and wait on one person to waste city taxpayer dollars to, you know, because folks can't get back there before the time that's posted.
And my understanding is there previously were not signs with times up there, but now there will be. So that should make that a lot clearer to people going up there.
And quite honestly, Jonathan, and I'm sure Alan can attest to this, there's been a hodgepodge of signs there that says sunrise to sunset. There's been signs with hours on there, and those either got damaged or taken away or substituted. So we made an effort during right after our meeting last month, I guess, to order a new sign to put there. And from what I understand, it just got installed maybe a week or two ago. And then it was determined maybe the lettering's too small. And if that's the case, we can make a sign with larger text. Alan, do you have anything you'd like to add to that, sir?
Yes, the printing is definitely too small on that sign. When it was first put up, I pulled up to it to see if I could read it, and I had to actually get out of the car to be able to read the sign.
Okay.
And so we do need larger print so people will be aware of the times. And another suggestion might be to put another sign at the little shack that we've got up there, the checkpoint. Put a sign there with larger print so that everyone, when they pull up there and make a right, they'll see that sign as they go up.
That's a great recommendation, and I'll definitely look into doing that. Yes, sir. Okay, any other questions from the board? Any concerns, comments?
Comments. I've enjoyed cooking with Carrie. And
Thank you very much. It was delicious.
yeah, and wondering if next month, are we thinking of meeting in person? And if so, can we look at outside if the weather's nice and inside if it's not?
And I anticipated that question. From what I've been told, we're still following orders. However, just from what I've heard is there's a good possibility that may be lifted to where we can go back to some sort of in-person meetings next month. So I will, in advance of next month's meeting, I will send an email out to the board, or I have to be realistic, Missy will, informing you. And that's a great idea, Jonathan. We'll try to keep a closer eye on the weather to where maybe we could go to Rotary Park or, one of our parks outdoors. And if not, for the size of the board, we can still socially distance here in our boardroom at Wing Deer Park, providing we don't have more than just our board in attendance, at which time we may have to ask someone to leave the room, to maintain the 6 feet. But yes, sir, I would love more than anything to get back to in-person meetings, but we're still following the orders until further notice. And from just hearing conversations, that could be a possibility by next month. Yes, sir.
James, could I make one comment about the sign that's currently up there, that's got the small print?
Yes,
When you
sir.
put another sign up, a good place for that sign would be on the kiosk up at the picnic area. There's room there for that sign to be put there beside the map. And that would be something that everyone going onto the trail would see.
Sure.
Are you saying move the sign with the tiny print up there? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, the sign that's there right now, just move it up to the kiosk and put it there beside the map at the kiosk.
That's a great idea. Okay. Madam Chairman?
All right, anybody else? Okay, well then we're adjourned. This has been fun and the shortest meeting ever.
I will make sure
Yay.
the chairman knows that. All right, thank you all. Look forward to next month.